Good evening and welcome to the Cover One Buffalo podcast. You are joining us live as we jump on board for day 3 recap of the NFL Combine. Really good day today. Obviously, getting into the defensive side of the ball was excited to finally see some guys that we've been, researching and talking about. Got a lot of excitement on the offensive side. Check out the shows that we did to recap, the first couple days with the wide receivers, the crazy offensive linemen, some of the great running back performances. Today, there was no lack of excitement on the defensive side of the ball. So we opened up with defensive linemen and linebackers, and they went in order with defensive tackles, edge rushers, and then true linebackers with some overlap in each group. Some guys who tested and did some of the drills both for D tackle and D end, and then some guys that did both D end and linebackers. So some really exciting performances of what's out there. We're going to start with the defensive tackles. Thought that all the top end guys looked good. I don't know that any of them destroyed the combine or looked crazy. Derek Brown, Ross Blacklock, Justin Matabuke, all of them looked pretty good. Neville Gallimore, I thought was tested really well. He's small, so you're supposed to run well his size, but he did well. He looked good. So I thought the top end guys all were really solid. I don't know that defensive tackle group lines up perfectly with where Buffalo is. I don't think it's crazy that if a Blacklock or a Matabuke or Gallimore fell to 54, that they'd be, in consideration. But don't know that any of them are obvious lock for what we're looking for. But they all did solid. I think that some of the guys that Eric and I watched at the Senior Bowl really looked good. Larrell Murchison from NC State, some really explosive jumps, moved real well. Jason Strobridge is a guy that I talked about from the Senior Bowl, and I thought that he looked really solid and was above average across the board, and everything moved well in the testing and was really solid there. A couple late round guys that I honestly hadn't done a ton of work on. Malcolm Roach out of Texas, 6'2", 297, ran a 4.84 with a 1.68 10-yard split, which is really good. Great vertical and broad jumps, moved really well in the drills. I thought Roach looked really good. And then the Davis twins from Nebraska, Carlos and Khalil Davis. Carlos ran a 4.82 with a 1.67 split at 313, and then Khalil ran a 4.75 with a 1.66 split at 308. Those are just bananas times for people that are over 300 pounds. So neither are rated incredibly highly, but it's something that when somebody puts up a time like that, it's worth going back and digging into some tape and trying to find some people that can move that well at that size. So just some names to keep an eye on later in the rounds. I think some mid-round guys like Murchison and Strobridge did themselves well. Most of the top-end guys did pretty well. A crossover guy who tested at a couple different spots, Nick Coe out of Auburn, I thought had some great measurables, some really good explosion drills, some good jumps, looked good from that standpoint. Moving into the edge, obviously edge is the top need from this group for the Bills. I think there's a possibility we take a defensive tackle or a linebacker. It could totally make sense, but edge is by far the biggest. So obviously it was disappointing that Chase Young didn't test. He's the kind of guy that could just completely blow things out of the water and have just a historic performance. And that would have been fun to see. I think he could have put up, a really, really top end score from a historic standpoint, but it was a shame not to see that. AJ Epinesa is a guy that I don't think people expected to test really well, and he did a little bit worse than that. So he's a guy I've liked a lot, and I was disappointed to see that he didn't test well, but also not terribly upset because it doesn't change the fact that I still feel really good about his film and that maybe now there's a better chance of him making it down to pick 22. His measurements were exceptional. Everybody knows he's a really big guy. You're talking about someone who's 6'6", 280 and change, really long arms, great wingspan. He moved okay in the drills, didn't look great. Had a couple later on when they did the combo move with the 4 pass rush drills. I thought that looked pretty good, but wasn't a great day for him. Certainly not something that he was able to put together, a really strong performance. He was average in the jumps, but, just some things that would have liked to have seen a little bit better from a player that some people think could be a top 10 or for sure a top 15 pick. So Not a great day for him, and something that curious to see how he moves at his pro day, and go back and take a look at some of those things with some of the explosion areas. A couple guys who are right there is maybe a little bit rich for pick 22. Definitely could be exciting at pick 23. I saw three, or at 54. I saw three guys that I thought were really, really good that are all in that ballpark. Yetur Gross-Matos out of Penn State, came in at 6'5", 266, carried it really well, easily could put on additional weight, in my opinion, and do it really comfortably. Really long arms, great measurements. You'd love to see that from an edge, and that hits that Bills archetype perfectly. That's right there, is exactly what they like to see. He looks so smooth in all the drills, moved really, really well. Didn't run a 40, but tested everything else fine. Terrell Lewis was the same, 6'5", 262, crazy long, really exceptional explosion jumps. You love to see that. You combine incredibly long arms, a big frame, and elite explosion. That's a pass rusher. That's what you want. So Lewis has some injury issues in the past you got to look into and check out, but he's a guy I'm very intrigued with that 54th pick, and someone that's there. And Bradley Anai is another guy that I loved at the Senior Bowl. Tested average or okay at every spot, but no red flags, no poor areas, and looked really, really smooth in all the drills. In the previous shows, I talked about guys who, kind of check the box. He was one of those guys that checked the box. A guy that I didn't love in the Senior Bowl, but I thought had a nice day today is Syracuse's Elton Robinson. I know a lot of Bills fans are aware of him just for Syracuse connections. Had a nice day. Tested well, 4.69 with a 1.65 10-yard split. That's a nice area to look at, and then you match that up with some really good jumps from an explosion standpoint. I thought he did himself proud. I thought that he looked good, and it had a nice day. A couple guys who are in that kind of mid-round area, not sure exactly where they're going to go. Alex Highsmith out of Charlotte, really explosive jumps, look good in the drills. Doesn't hit all the Bills archetypes from a size standpoint. He's 6'3", 248. He's at the lower end of what they normally look like, but a guy who moves really, really well. And I think I'd be excited to see what he could do if they were to get him in a mid or later round pick. And then a guy who I really was kind of excited about at the Senior Bowl and then saw again today, Jabari Zuniga out of Florida, is just a guy who keeps flashing for me. Okay size, pretty solid, nothing crazy from that standpoint, but looked pretty good in being set up that way. 6'3", 264, so a little bit longer, some longer arms, really big hands, but just tested off the charts, just phenomenal. Ran a 4.64 with a 1.61 10-yard split. It was the best 10-yard split of any defensive lineman that was there. Also put up 29 reps, 33-inch vertical, 10-foot 7-inch broad jump, super smooth in all the drills. Just looked really good and had a great, great day. So a player that I'm going to go back and take a look at a little bit more, see, how refined the pass rush skills are. Does he make use of that elite athleticism? And if he doesn't, how much of that is coaching at Florida or something that we could, our new defensive line coach, Eric Washington, can he coax more out of that? I think that's going to come into play with guys like Zuniga, Terrell Lewis, Alex Highsmith. I think those are guys who have some really exceptional physical gifts. I thought Yetur Gross-Matos looked good. I think he certainly puts himself in play as a, safety net guy at pick 22. If all of those top end guys are there, I thought he did himself proud, and I thought his film matches up with that. So he's the guy who I'd be ecstatic with at pick 54 and would probably be more okay with at 22 than I initially thought with how smooth he looked here today. Going to go back and take a look at his film as well. The linebackers, again, I don't know that I see the Bills being super hot in the linebacker market, but I was really excited to see how well people tested, because I'd love to see a good handful of them go early in some of the drills. Isaiah Simmons and Kenneth Murray were both bananas. It's a shame. Kenneth Murray would have gotten attention today for having a historic combine setup with all of his testing off the charts, except Isaiah Simmons did even better. So I feel almost bad for Kenneth Murray that he had such an amazing performance, and it got completely overshadowed because Isaiah Simmons just destroyed everything and was off the charts. Ran a 4.39 40 for a linebacker. It's just crazy. And at 6'3", 240, that's just unbelievable. Patrick Queen was really good. I don't know that he was exceptional, but really good and moved really smoothly. I thought his coverage was exceptional, and his film is phenomenal. He's that dude. I call him, he's a human missile. He looks like a missile wearing a football jersey and just blows people up. Zach Bond is a guy that I've been warming up to. A couple of people had him going early, like late first. I think that's a little early for me, but he's a guy that I think is in that 40 to 50 range and is interesting because I think he has a possibility of playing a little bit of that that Lorenzo Alexander role, and that he has the potential to play strong side linebacker on first and second down and then pass rush on third down. He's another one of those guys. My notes are just he checked the box. He did average or better, and everything was pretty solid, moved well in the drills, and has really nice film. So I know some people were thinking he might really blow things up and test off the charts. He didn't do that. He was good. He was solid in all the testing, but was okay. A guy that some people were excited about, Michael Divinity Jr. out of LSU, measured really short and tested really poorly. Only 6'1" and was below average in just about everything. So, a guy that some people saw as maybe a sneaky, late round guy, just had a really poor day. So interesting to see where that is. Another surprise guy that I can't lie, I didn't really have on my radar was Willie Gay out of Mississippi State. Measured in at 6'1", 243. So 6'1", not huge, but 243 with crazy long arms. And then ran a 4.46 in the 40, 21 reps with some long arms, 39.5-inch vertical, 11.4 broad jump. Just crazy athlete. So somebody that I'm going to go check out a little bit more. Didn't really have a ton in the film area, so curious to see where that comes up. Ron was saying in the chat here some character flaw issues with Gay, so certainly gonna have to check into that and see a little bit more. Joe was talking about Shaq Quarterman. I thought he moved well as well. I thought he had a nice day. Some guys, Agam, I thought had a nice day as well. So overall, today was an exciting day for the Bills. A lot of guys on the board that I think that they're going to strongly consider and have right there. I was excited to see the defensive ends and the linebackers test as well as they did. I think there was some overlap there. There's some guys who looked really good that I think ran with the linebackers that can put their hand in the dirt and be able to rush the passer. And you see that, with some of the guys who, weighed in a little bit bigger there and could still move and be able to work in that space to be able to do those things. So I was excited about seeing some of those people be able to really, mess around and get a couple of the scores that they did in some of those areas. So it'll be interesting to see where things come out here. It's been fun doing these recaps and being able to kind of take notes, go through and look at what we have here from a draft option standpoint in the combine. I always want to warn people the combine is a small piece of the puzzle, but it's a fun one. We get to see the guys running around and being able to, show some athleticism and what they do. It should be a reminder, nobody's jumping 3-4 rounds because of this. The teams knew what kind of athletes they are, but it's good to go back and look, the same way that yesterday, AJ Dillon looked great and Zach Moss had a rough day. And today, AJ Epinesa didn't have a great day, but Yetur Gross-Matos looked really good. It's a reason to go back and look at the film and check and see, hey, is there something I missed? Is there something that we didn't check out to be able to do? Alton Robinson is a great example for me. When he was out there with high-end competition at the Senior Bowl, he had a really rough time and didn't look great. Then he tested really well today and looked good in the drills. I maybe was a little dismissive of him and didn't go back and look at a ton after he had a rough Senior Bowl week. And now I'm going to go back and look a little bit more and see, hey, is there something else that I should have been looking at or should have been more open to and maybe was too quick to move on after a rough Senior Bowl week. So another name that Joe brought up here, Jonathan Garvin, was a guy that I had from a late round standpoint. And Casey Toohill, another name for Stanford, two guys that I jotted down to go back and look at a couple more games on to be able to see if there's something else there. So had a great time looking at these. Going to continue doing that. We're going to be wrapping things up tomorrow with the defensive backs, safeties, cornerbacks. I think this is a big area for the Bills. A lot of exciting guys. You've seen some of the pieces come out recently on Kyle Duggar. I think he's going to blow things up tomorrow. I think he's going to run in the 4.3s and just put up a crazy performance. I think there's some really, really fast guys in that cornerback group who might run in the 4.3s. I think there's a couple guys. Javelin Guidry, I think, has a chance to run in the 4.2s. So I think we should have some really fun stuff tomorrow. Just a reminder, if you're listening to this, it starts a little earlier tomorrow. I think we're starting at 2 p.m. instead of 4 p.m. So I think it's running 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. to get things wrapped up. So we will probably be doing our recap show sometime right after things wrap up there. And then we'll kind of go from there into the next week. So thank you. It's been great. Appreciate you guys in the chat here, especially Ron and Joe. Appreciate you guys. We'll take a look at what we have going on here the rest of the week and then get you out into more good work from Russell, from Christian, from Eric, from Brad, from Zach, all the different guys putting out all the combine workouts and the updates from where things come from here. But you have been listening to Cover One Buffalo, and we are out.